Okay. Hey, it's Diane, and we're back in the Course in Miracles. I've had quite the day, and it is now 1 o'clock in the morning, but I definitely need to look at this. So we're in lesson 4 of the workbook. Lesson 4 is these thoughts do not mean anything. They're like the things I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. We've been building on the ideas, and at some point I won't be able to read all the lessons, but lesson 1 is nothing I see in this room means anything, or that I see anywhere means anything. Training our mind that we're interpreting. Nothing means anything. Lesson number 2, I've given everything I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning it has for me. This pen means nothing except for me giving it meaning. Number 3, I do not understand anything I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place. So if I were from another world and I saw this, it wouldn't have any meaning. I wouldn't understand it, right? You and I know it's a pen, but if we go back 200 years, they had never seen this, it would have no meaning. So lesson 4 today. And just the disclaimer, I say it in every video, it's not my intention to teach the Course in Miracles. I am absolutely not qualified. I have been through the workbook several times in my life, kind of messing around with it again, just sharing my thoughts and my experience. If you have thoughts and experience, please feel free to comment, of course, like and subscribe. And then if you know of other resources and things and experienced teachers, perhaps feel free to share with us. So lesson number 4. These things do not mean anything. They're like the things I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place. These thoughts, not things. These thoughts do not mean anything. So the exercises for today is, unlike the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. And these practice periods begin with nothing. I don't have my glasses on. Begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute. Now, I've had a lot of thoughts today. It's been a long day. So I could sit here and just be quiet for a second. Okay. Then apply the idea to them. If you are already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find, if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. This is why they don't mean anything. It's kind of messed up to think that our thoughts don't mean anything, because we think thinking is, if you read the Science of Getting Rich, the thinking stuff, and now this is saying, wait a minute, your thoughts don't mean anything. In selecting the subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad, and that's in quotes, good or bad, who says which is which. None of them represents your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and the shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. This is a major exercise and will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps towards the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in a long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside of you and the meaningful within. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and what is different. Hi, Rach. In using your thoughts for application of the idea, I'm sorry, guys, I should have gotten my glasses. The truth is I can't find them today. They're around here somewhere. In using your thoughts for application of the idea for today, identify each thought by the central figure or event it contains. For example, this thought about blank doesn't mean anything. It's like the things I see in this room, on this street, and so on. So this thought about my glasses doesn't mean anything. It's like the things I see in this room, on this street, and so on. You can also use the idea for a particular thought that you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but is not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercises. Do not, however, examine your mind for more than a minute or so. You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. That right there, so true. Further, since these exercises are the first of their kind, you may find the suspension of judgment in connection with thoughts particularly difficult. I did, still do. It is really hard because, again, I've read a lot of books that are all about the power of thought, the power of thought, the power of thought, right? And now this book is saying your thoughts are meaningless. And when you first start out, it's just like, well, that makes no sense. But you'll see as you progress, it's really powerful. Let's see. Further, since these exercises are the first of its kind, I said that. Do not repeat these exercises more than 3 or 4 times during the day. We will return to them later. So because I've been through the course workbook several times, I tend to do this. I'm trying to focus back and go back to the beginning. But this tends to be a thing where when I start getting agitated, I remind myself this thought is meaningless, and that the only energy around the thought is the energy that I'm giving to it, right? The only meaning is the meaning I'm giving to it. So at any moment, I can decide to look at the thought differently, and then the whole thing will change. And that's the definition of miracle in this book, is seeing things from a different perspective. So kind of neat stuff. So again, today, the lesson was, these thoughts do not mean anything. They're like the things I see in this room, on this street, from this window, and in this place. So the next time you're having thoughts about something and it's starting to get intense, telling yourself that the thought doesn't mean anything can actually diffuse the thought and the emotion really quickly. So anyway, that's my take on lesson 4. And I'm on the road and off the road, so I haven't been doing these like every day like I'd like to. I do them when I can, but that's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I do look at it all the time, keep it on my little Kindle app on my phone, but just staying in the game is a big part of this course. So, all right, gang, I am going to relax. Now, have a wonderful evening. And again, if you like these, feel free to leave a comment. If you have resources, add them, thoughts, ideas. If you're a student of this stuff, let me know. If maybe you're a student of another modality that aligns or has similar things about it, because I can think of other things I've studied that have similarities. Definitely feel free to join the conversation. All right, see you later. Take care.